Alright YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. And today guys, we'll be talking about the 5 decks that you can use for the ritual event. Now, I already made a video before this, but I was thinking, since I'm just gonna showcase the 5 decks that I'm gonna run in the ritual festival, might as well gonna make it properly and test the deck out during the festival, and so that the people who is watching the video will eventually just copy and paste that to their deck list and then run it through the event. So no need to test this one out. It's already been tested, and I have some of the replays that I will showcase to you guys after each of the deck lists. So with that, without further ado, let's go into the first deck list. Alright ladies and gents, so for the first deck list that we're going to talk about is the Megalith. So this is the most cheapest ritual deck that you can use for the event. Typically the highest rarity that you can actually get for this ritual archetype is the SR only. Other than that, it's basically some staples, and I think most of you already have the staples. So this running into the event is kind of good. I really love this type of ritual deck because this has the Phallic in it. The Phallic will increase your ritual monsters attack and defense by 300 depending on the number of ritual monsters in your graveyard. So if you have 2 or more copies of this on the field, that will eventually stack. So insanely good as well. The main priority for this deck is to summon a copy of Fall to the field. The Fall is your bread and butter for the deck. This will allow you to get all of your resources or all of your ritual monsters from your deck to the field. And once they are on the field, they will have their own effect as well. Whether adding a card, adding one ritual monster, adding a field spell, which is quite good for the deck. With the number of copies, I just go with 3 copies of Bethor just for the pop. Also, you can recycle this pack or spin this card from your graveyard to your hand with the help of the field spell. The Phallic is quite necessary on 3 copies because, like I said earlier, this stacks. And lastly, the 3 copies of Arathron that can ritual summon during your opponent's turn. So, in case you don't have a Fall on the field or your Fall has been tributed for a Kaiju, you can use the effect of Arathron and summon another copy of your Fall to the field if you have the materials as well. For your consistency engine, you have 3 copies of Senju of the Thousand Hands and the 3 copies of Manju. Furthermore, you have also the Megalith Unformed, which you can summon your Megalith Fall directly from your deck to the field. Really good card as well. There's nothing I can say about this deck. It is really fun. I did a ton of, well, I garnered the 11,000 points early in the ritual event just because of this deck alone. But anyways, that is the Megalith deck. Extra deck, it's all gonna be the same, so I'm not gonna talk about the extra deck too much. So yeah, with that, I'm gonna showcase a replay after. You know what? Let's just showcase the replays after all of the 5 decks has been showcased. So with that, that's Megalith. Let's go towards the second deck. Alright ladies and gents, so our second deck that we're going to talk about is, you guessed it, it's Nouvelles. So I was underestimating this deck a few days ago, but so far when I tried using this and testing the deck out, I got used to how this deck actually works and actually perform. For this type of lineup, we are running with the Heralds and Fairy monsters because that is more powerful. So the main purpose for this deck, for the people who don't know about Nouvelles, is summon a copy of your border base to the field. That way you can excavate cards, and with that you can ritual climb into a higher ritual monster, which is your Poeltis, your copy of Belamanyor, and your copy of your Bale Grill on the field. These cards alone will garner you more resources, and of course you contribute your opponent's monster as fodder for your ritual summon as well. Insanely good for an archetype. A lot of consistency engines in the deck as well. And if your opponent is going on defense, you can change them into attack position just with 1 ritual spell card alone. Just a quick side note, if you only have like 2 or 1 copy of the Poisoner de Nouvelle, it's still perfectly fine. Just go with 1 copy of this or 2 copies if as long as you have a copy of this in your deck. It's much better. Just add some other consistency engines or board breakers like Harpy's Feather Duster or a copy of Triple Tactics Talent if you can. So that is the Nouvelles. Let's go towards our third deck list. Alright guys, so for our last ritual deck that I'm going to showcase to you guys, the last 2 is typically non-ritual based, but are very powerful for the event. So our third ritual deck is Mikankos, you guessed it, and it is quite interesting. So a couple of things has been removed for the Mikankos and a couple of things has been limited. First and foremost, the Arabesque is limited to 1, so you can't run more than 1 copy for this. What else? You can't run the Kaijus with 3,300 attack, so that's really a bummer, but it's still pretty good because we're running 3 copies of Lava Golem, so we just replaced the other Kaijus with the Sticky Stain Kaiju. It's still pretty powerful, and the double-edged sword is also banned here, so that's kind of a bummer, but we are gonna exchange the double-edged sword with the second copy of Axel Pulse for a negate. So it's still pretty powerful though. I can't deny how easy it is to use this type of deck going second. So insanely good. I have some our replay for that one as well for those who don't know the deck that much. But anyways, that is Mikankos, guys. Priority for the deck is getting a copy of your Ohime and then summoning a copy of your Huli to the field so that your Mikanko cards cannot be targeted for an attack. Anyways, that is Mikankos, ladies and gents. Let's go towards the 4th and 5th deck, which are non-ritual based. Alright, ladies and gents, so our 4th deck that we are going to talk about is Danger Darkworld. And yes, it is a really powerful non-ritual deck that you can use for the event. Since Maxi is prohibited with this event, you can special summon a ton of monsters on the field without getting punished. Yes, you won't get punished. Even if you're going up against Nouvelles, you can still go on more monsters on the field, a ton of gas as well. And if all of your monsters are in the graveyard, you can still have your pot of avarice to recycle back 5 cards and then draw 2 cards, thus continuing your spell summon to the field. And once everything else is destroyed on your opponent's side, or once you already have a ton of monsters on your main monster zone, then you can dish out a ton of damage to your opponent's life points as well. So insanely good for this archetype as well. I really love this deck. Sadly, I couldn't find a really good replay for this because people are just gonna scoop because of the ton of resources that I have garnered with the help of the Danger Darkworlds. But anyways, that is Danger Darkworlds. Priority for this is typically having a 1 copy of the gates on the field, with of course any Darkworld monster that you can discard. The addition for this card is the Ceruli, which you have to spell summon your opponent's side of the field. Once this card is discarded from your own, Ceruli will discard 1 card on your hand once this card is summoned on your opponent's side of the field. I think the highest rarity for this one is the 1 copy of Bigfoot and the 2 copies of Grapha. Give or take, that's the highest rarity that you can use for the event. Or for the deck as well. If you have 2 or more copies for each of the cards except for the Grappa, I think just limiting this to, or semi-limiting this in your deck is quite okay. But the Danger Bigfoot, if you have 2 or 3 copies of this, go for it. I think that's basically it. Let's go towards our 5th and last deck that you can use for the event. Alright, ladies and gents, and here we are with the 5th and last deck that we can use for the event. So it is Rescue Ace. I already tackled the Rescue Ace in my previous video. It is quite fun as well, but it still lacks a little bit more support. Hopefully in a couple of months we'll get the Emergency and the last card, which is the, I forgot the name, Preventer, was it? I think the Preventer. But yeah, it's still a really powerful deck. Primary goal is just summoning a copy of Hydrant to the field, and once Hydrant will gain you more access to more of your cards. As long as you have a ton of Rescue Ace monsters on your hand or on your field, the Hydrant won't be destroyed, or it is impossible to destroy the Hydrant. As long as you have the Turbulence on the field, getting back a ton of resources back from the deck to the field, you are always going to win in most of your games for this deck list. Strategy is always getting a copy of your Hydrant on the field. That is your primary goal. That is why we're getting a copy of Gizmic Naganaki, the pre-rest map, getting a hold of the 0 attack monster, which is the Hydrant, and also the 1-for-1. And it's kind of expensive though, but I think having to invest on the Rescue Ace archetype is kind of good in the near future, or in the long run. We'll have the new supports, and I think that's going to be really powerful in Master Duel once it comes up. But anyways, that is Rescue Ace for you guys. That is all of the deck lists that I'm going to showcase for you guys, and these are already been tested in the festival. So go ahead and just adapt them into your deck list and run them through the event. Anyways, guys, that is all the deck lists that I'm going to showcase to you guys. Hope you enjoy this kind of content. Like and subscribe, and here you are with the replays. Goodbye.